You see, God has this just passionate, fiery wrath that just wants to come into us and remove all that is hurting us and remove everything that's taken us away from the love of Him. Hello, welcome to Walk Right, a Path to Healing. I'm Steve, your host, and I am super excited that you're here today. Hey, this devotional podcast is designed to empower you on your spiritual journey, or maybe your road to recovery, and I really hope it lifts your spirits. I'm also hopeful by the end of the show that your heart's a little bit bigger and maybe you know a little bit more about Jesus today. So let's get started and discover how we can walk right towards a life of living and loving in the kingdom today. And today's episode is called Choose the Right Anger. Choose the right anger. And we're going to be in Colossians 3, 6 through 9 today, if you want to make your way over there. But as we start every podcast, here is your story. So I have two older boys that are near in their 30s. And unfortunately, they took the brunt of me and my ex-wife caught up in our codependency and addiction battle. See, my ex-wife was an addict, addicted to pain medication. And I was a codependent, trying to be the savior and fix her. So when we had 13 years of just battling each other, you're not going to take medicine. Oh, yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. And going in this vicious circle for so many years. I had so much anger. Unfortunately, I would take it out on my kids. The only reason was because I didn't know how to handle the emotions. I didn't know I had codependency at that time. I didn't know how to handle not being able to fix her. I didn't know how to handle the addiction. I felt alone. I didn't know what to do. So when they would do something wrong, I would just be angry. And it's the wrong kind of anger, because it was an emotional response to an action. And when we have that kind of anger, that emotional response to something that's built up inside of us, bad things come from that. We tend to lash out and we tend to say things we didn't want to say. And we tend to, just have sometimes a rage about us that looks to be a true picture of anger. Now, I never hurt my kids and I never physically touched them. But man, my words were probably more damaging than me ever slapping them or beating their butt. Again, that's just the wrong type of anger. And here we are now to where, like I said, they're almost in their 30s. It's not just them two boys, it's my other kids as well that I have with my new wife. And some of them are just not making the right choices. And while we try to help them passionately, they just don't want to listen. Now, I get it. When I was that age, I didn't want to listen to my parents. I knew everything about the world and I was going to conquer it, and I didn't need their help. And some of the things they're stepping into are just so harmful. They're blinded by it. I understand that. They don't see it. And we've asked them to get help, to go to counseling, to do these things. Although they see Dad transformed, they think that I still get angry with them. And I don't get angry with them in the sense that they think. The old me, the old self, the one that would respond to an emotional response because of my trauma. No, the anger I have now is an anger that is just, I would just do anything to get inside of them and remove all that stuff that is hurting them, to remove all that stuff that is making them make these bad choices in life, and that it's going to end up hurting them in the long run. I know it's coming. It's already happened to some of them. That's the anger I have now. I would do anything to stop that. anything to go in there and just remove that from them, because that's not who they are. I know them. I know that I made them, and that's not who they are. And those are the two different types of anger that I want to talk about. And are you choosing the right anger? Because we tend to put one of those on God and don't think about the other one. So let's take a look in Colossians 3 today. And we're going to start at verse 6, where it says, when you live in these vices, you ignite the anger of God against these acts of disobedience. That's how you once behaved, characterized by your evil deeds, but now it's time to eliminate them from your lives once and for all. Anger, fits of rage, all forms of hatred, cursing, filthy speech, and lying. Lay aside your old Adam self with its masquerade and disguise. Wow. Just a little bit here, isn't there? Now I'll just tell you, Paul is talking about sexual sin and impurity in this verse. And he's talking about the living and the desire for wealth and forbidden things and idol worship. He's talking about all these things to the Colossians. And he says, when you live in these vices, you ignite the anger of God against these acts of disobedience. Now, how does that make you feel? When I say you ignite the anger of God against these acts of disobedience, does it make you feel shameful? Does it make you feel fearful? Because a lot of us grow up picturing God as maybe our father or mother or uncle or grandfather, whoever was a figure in our life, a head figure in our life. That's how most people portray God and think of God when they start to step into religion or knowing about God. I'm here to tell you that that word translated as anger doesn't mean what you think it means. It actually means what I was talking about the second part of my story. You see, God has this just passionate, fiery wrath that just wants to come into us and remove all that is hurting us and remove everything that's taken us away from the love of Him and what His Son did on the cross. And when He reconciled us back to an original relationship, He has this anger. It's just, why do we continue to make these bad choices? Why do we continue to live in this way? Because I want to remove any of it. I want to remove anything that is making you feel this way and done the damage to your life. Just like I said I wanted to do with my boys. And he says, that's how you once behaved, characterized by your evil deeds. But now, it's time to eliminate them from your lives once and for all. Anger, fits of rage, all forms of hatred, cursing, filthy speech, lying. Lay aside your old Adam self with its masquerade and disguise. Why would Paul say that? Why would he even bring up Adam here? Well, if you listen to these podcasts or have heard me speak, your old Adam self is what you used to be before God reconciled the world to Himself on the cross. You see, we lived in the old Adam. We lived because of what Adam did. But we're alive now because of what Jesus did. So why do we continue to live in the old Adam self? That's what he's saying here. You have to lay aside your old Adam self with its masquerade and disguise. It's a false thing. It's a masquerade. It's fake. You're putting on a mask that isn't you. And if we go back up into verse 6, he says, when you live in these vices, you ignite the anger of God against these acts of disobedience. It doesn't say when you live in these vices, you ignite the anger of God against you. And that's what most people think. Oh, it's a behavior modification. I did wrong. God's going to be mad at me and He's angry at me and He's going to come and get me. And God's an angry God. And He's mad at these acts of disobedience. He's got that fiery anger, that passionate love to want to come in and fix all of that. That's what that means. It's orgate. That's what that means. That's what it's translated to. And that's how you once behaved. We don't behave like that anymore. Why? Because of what Jesus did and His blood that spilled out. It's on the mercy seat where he sits at the right hand of God. So are you choosing the right anger? Because we can choose to picture God as this angry God. Or we can picture this anger as somebody who has done nothing but try to reconcile the world to himself all along the way. From the day he walked Adam and Eve out of the garden, he's tried to build a relationship with us. And he's met us where we were at. You see, he doesn't angrily push his way in. That's what he gave us free will for, right? So he meets us where we're at. And that's what he's done the entire way through the Bible. He's met us where we were at. Okay, now we built the temple. Now we've done this. Now we've moved to this. Now we've moved to this. Now we moved to have to say a prayer to get Jesus to like us. Okay, he'll meet us there too. He meets us where we're at without pushing himself onto us. But he has an anger, a passionate, fiery will that just wants us to be free. He set us free. He just wants us to live like it now, but we choose not to. We choose to stay stuck in religion. We choose to stay stuck in the old Adam self with its masquerade and disguise. We choose to live self-centered. We don't have to anymore. We choose to, but he still meets us where we're at. We have to choose the right anger. And if we don't choose the right anger, our whole view of God and moving forward is just going to be a complete wreck. Just like I thought it was. And just like a bunch of people think it is. That's why this ministry is here today. It's to help you become unstuck. It's to help us move away from that to a transformative life, to an abundant life, to be in love, to be in light, to having the same anger that God has for other people that are stuck and hurting. We go through the trials and tribulations to learn, grow, and then step alongside those that are going through the same stuff we did. And it's a pattern that we have to continue to do over and over and over. Things aren't going to become perfect. Things aren't going to become whole at this point. You have to choose the right anger first. Because if you're just mad at the world and mad at this and mad at that, but you go to church every Sunday, you're missing the mark. You have to lay aside your old Adam self and move forward. Because if you read on further in this new creation life, your nationality makes no difference. Your education makes no difference. Your economic status makes no difference. They matter nothing, he says. For it is Christ that means everything as he lives in every one of us. That's what matters. We have to have that full revelation, he says. Adam's gone. We're no longer a part of that. We're now in Christ, and that means everything. And he lives in every single one of us. It's what it says down there in verse 11. He lives in every one of us. So why do we continue to be angry with the wrong anger? Why do we continue to live in the old Adam instead of what the new Adam, Jesus Christ, did? We have to choose the right anger for all this to start flowing the right way. Because if you picture like I did, God was an angry God that tolerated me, waiting for me to just mess up. And Jesus, thank God, he was there to sneak me in the back door because I smelled really bad. If that's your view of God, it's going to take you a long time to get transformed. And once you know that Christ lives in you, and they live in you in a union, and he's intertwined in every part of your day, every single day, wanting to share life with you, not wanting you to stumble and fall so he can bring the lightning rod down, man, it's such a freedom. Such a freedom. So choose the right anger and go from there. And thank you for joining me on this episode of Walk Right a Path to Healing. And if you like this episode, please like, share, send it to somebody. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Comment, please. It helps me. It helps get this message out to people. And You'll never miss an episode if you subscribe, right? But I want you to join us next time for another inspiring story and a devotional. And until then, keep walking right. And may your path be filled with hope and purpose. And as always, remember, you are loved, you are holy. And I'll see you on the next episode. God bless.